So it's the sprinkler head. Now most of the things that we're looking at here today are Hunter industry products. So this is a Hunter head, Hunter swing joint, and I'm going to show you a Hunter nozzle as well. And we'll have links to all this stuff in the description below. That way you can check them out. If you need to order something, you can order it right there. But most of all this stuff you can find at your local supply place or even some of your big box store as well. Now Hunter also makes a 6-inch pop-up, and there's even 12-inch pop-ups. And then they've got little mini ones, like 2-inch pop-up like that, which there's only a few cases where you'd actually use one of those. But the majority of what you're gonna see in your yard is a 4-inch pop-up like this. Let's take this head off the swing joint. And let's just look at this for a second. This is what we would call the sprinkler head. And so water's coming up, and what it does, and I'm going to take it apart here in a second, it raises this middle part up, and it's spring loaded, so that's why I've got to hold it like this. It's spring loaded, and this is the riser part, the inside of the sprinkler head. And then on top of this is where you're going to put the nozzle. So the sprinkler head and the nozzle are actually two different parts. You've got a sprinkler head here, and then you've got a filter and a nozzle. Always recommend to use the filters. Now these do get clogged up. You've got to take them off, you got to clean them and things like that. Sometimes you have to replace it if they get too clogged. But the filter goes in, then the nozzle goes on top of the sprinkler head. We'll talk more about the nozzle here in a second. And then that's what it's going to look like. So let's open this up. These actually come apart. So that one's a little bit stuck right there. So now you can see the spring. So this is the sprinkler body. And the Hunter is just kind of flat on bottom with the 1/2 inch threaded right there. And this is what the inside looks like. So you've got that spring and it's pushing that up. And most of these you've got to have close to 30 psi to push this spring up. So there is a minimum pressure that you have to push a sprinkler head up. If your sprinkler heads are not pushing up or barely pushing up, you've got a pressure issue, which means you could have a leak somewhere or something's going on in that system, or maybe it wasn't designed right or even installed right. But there's a lot of things on why this won't pop up all the way. But you can see that's where the spring is, and then you've got your nozzle there on top. And one of the things that wears out a lot on these sprinkler heads is this white seal part right here. And so dirt gets down in here, and from going up and down a lot, from you running your sprinkler system, dirt and stuff scratches this, and these get worn out a lot. And so what happens is when this seal part is worn out, water is going to be shooting up the side of that. And if you start seeing that, it's really time to just go ahead and replace the whole entire sprinkler head. You don't want to have a whole lot of water. Well, actually, you don't want any. You don't want any water coming up the side right here. This is supposed to completely seal off. You only want water coming out of the nozzle. So if you've got a lot of water coming out right there, it is time to go ahead and replace it. Now, I'm not exactly sure if you can buy that seal part. Usually most of the time you're just buying a whole new sprinkler head and putting a new one on. And really at that point it'd be good to have, not just to have a new seal, it'd be good to have the new riser, new body, everything, new nozzle, new filter in it. When it comes down to just replacing these, it's better just to come back with everything new. There's not really an advantage to just replacing one or two parts. So you've got maybe a swing joint or fixed riser connecting to possibly a PVC fitting coming up out of the ground. Your sprinkler head is going to go on top of that, and then on your sprinkler head is going to be a nozzle, something like this one. This is a Hunter nozzle that's an adjustable, and it can go 12 feet. And you turn the top here and you can adjust it from something like even a 45 or 90 to 180 and even all the way to 360. I do like the adjustable nozzles, and that way you can put it basically anywhere that you're going to have a 12-foot nozzle and adjust it to the angle that you want. But your sprinkler nozzle is really what's going to determine what your flow is on each zone. And so different nozzles have different amounts of water that are going to come out. And they're also going to spray a different distance. And so like I said, this one's a 12. So if I was going to design and install a sprinkler system with number 12s, these heads would be 12 feet apart and they would spray head to head. You always want head-to-head coverage. But if you've got one and it got stuck open and you mowed it off with the mower or something happened to it and you're replacing it, what you could do is you could step off the distance from head to head, and that's going to let you know possibly and most likely what the design and installation was for your sprinkler system. And you always want to go back with what was in there. And so maybe they're 10 feet apart, you'd want a 10-foot nozzle, a nozzle to go spray 10 feet. If you go putting different nozzles on there, you really could mess up the hydraulics of that particular zone, and it may or may not work the same ever again. So you really want to be sure you use the right nozzle. But the nozzle's what's on top, and it's really what's determining what the flow is of your sprinkler system. Hunter makes great products and we've been using them for years. So if you've got Hunter stuff in your yard, go back with a Hunter. Or if you've got Rainbird, it doesn't really matter. But these are good products, and I've got links to all this in the description below. My name's Kelly Staggs and you're watching American Irrigator.